Hi, welcome to the world of Excel. I am excited to teach you all about Excel because Excel is my favorite tool in all four of the Microsoft Office package, or the basic tools of Microsoft Office anyway. We've completed Word and we're moving on now to Excel, and as you can see here on the screen in front of you is what Excel looks like when you open it up, and you'll see there are some similarities in that the top bar here is the title bar, and then we have the quick access toolbar where you can save and undo just like you could with Word. And then you see your ribbon before you, and the file tab is sort of the same as far as that's where you can save and print and change your options. And then the home tab, you see some similarities as far as the clipboard and the font goes, and even some alignment that's similar to what we did with the paragraph. But then things change a bit. You do see styles there. So we're going to be reviewing each of these tabs as we go along. But let me talk to you first about the purpose of Excel. Excel is used quite a bit in the business world. It's often used for creating budgets and forecasts, but it's also used for list manipulation. It's great for sorting large lists of things, whether there's numbers involved or no numbers. It really is best at actually creating formulas and functions and doing mathematical calculations very, very quickly. And I think you'll see the power behind that as we go forward. So even those of you that are a little afraid of Excel, maybe you don't like math that much, hopefully you'll see very quickly that Excel can actually help you if you're not that good at math. You might struggle a little bit in creating the formulas, but just remember I'm here to help you. All you have to do is reach out to me, and I'm happy to explain the mathematics behind it. But I think you'll see that Excel has so many cool things that you can do with it. So I hope that you enjoy it as much as I enjoy teaching it to you. So let's get back to the terminology here. The basic part of your window is broken up into rows and columns. And the rows are A, B, C, D. And you can see here I have my zoom up to 180% down here on the bottom right corner, which is why you may see more columns. But if I were to go keep going out here in my columns and go all the way to the right, what happens is after it gets to Z, it goes to AA, and then AA, AB, AC, AD, and believe it or not, it goes all the way out to XFD, column XFD, which is crazy amount of columns, right? And if I quickly want to get back to the top left cell of my worksheet, which is cell A1, I would hit Control Home, and that will quickly bring me back to this cell. So I talked to you about columns, A, B, C, D, E. I just happened to mention cells, but cells basically are the combination of the column and the row. So you see the rows here listed down along the left-hand side. And these rows actually go 1 through, I want to say it is 1,048,576 rows. Okay. So again, I'm going to hit Control Home. So the intersecting point between the column and the row is what we call the cell. And we always say the column and then the number. So for example, if I move my mouse pointer here and I click on cell C3, I can tell this is cell C3 a couple of different ways. One is C is grade, 3 is grade, but also over here in my name box or my go-to box, I see that it says C3. Okay, so that's another way that you can tell what cell you're on. To get from cell to cell, you can either use your arrow keys, your tab keys, you can click with your mouse, whatever method you want to get from cell to cell. Another quick way to get to a particular cell, if you know what cell you want to get to, is to click up here in the go-to or the name box. They're really called interchangeably both, and type in exactly the cell you want to go to. So let's say I decide I want to go to K100. I can type in K100 and hit enter, and it will quickly bring me to cell K100, which is kind of a cool feature. Okay, and then remember, if I want to get back up to cell A1 quickly, I hold down my control key, I hit my home key, and I'm brought back up to cell A1. All right, so we've mentioned what a cell is, right? The intersecting point between a column and a row. The next piece of terminology I want to talk to you about is something called a range. A range. A range is a group of contiguous cells. So for example, if I start here in cell C2 and I have the big plus arrow in the middle of the cell, if I hold down with my left mouse key and I start to drag down, okay, this is actually a range, which is C2 through C4. It's the first cell in the range and the last cell in the range. So C2 through C4. Okay. Now let's say I decide to do the range E3 through G7. So I would hold down and I would drag, drag, drag until I got to G7. You always see the first cell in the range is sort of white because that's the cell that if you start typing that your data is going to go into. But you'll notice the green box, that's indicating where your range is. So here we're at E3 to G7. Okay, so that's the mouse method for highlighting a range. In the next video, I'm going to teach you a few different methods for highlighting a range, which I think you'll find pretty cool. Before we get into that too much, I just want you to understand that a range, the term range, is actually just a group of contiguous cells. Okay, and the way that a range is written, so let's say I have this, if I had a range this B2 through D4, you would actually see it written like this in the book. Okay, it shows a colon in between the two. So it's B2 through D4. It's the leftmost cell to the bottom rightmost cell. Okay. So next piece of terminology I need to talk to you about is the formula bar. This is the formula bar up here. You move your mouse pointer up to it, it actually tells you it's the formula bar. And you'll understand in a little while, by the end of this chapter, why it's called the formula bar. But for now, that's all you need to know, that is the formula bar. Okay. Each Excel file is what we would call a workbook. Okay. Imagine you walk into Staples and you buy a notebook full of gridded paper. Okay. All of those sheets together make up our workbook. So you notice down here that this is sheet 1. You see this little plus here. What this allows you to do is to actually create more sheets. So if I clicked here, I could create another new sheet. So I'd have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So these individual sheets are worksheets. All of the sheets together comprise what we call a workbook. And that's basically the equivalent of what an Excel file is it's a workbook. Okay? When you are typing text in a cell, so let's say I go here to cell B2 and I say this is a sentence. Okay, notice what happens here. As soon as I hit enter, it's committed to the cell and it's brought me down to cell B3. Okay, so if I click back up on cell B2, notice I see here up in the formula bar exactly what I've typed. This is a sentence, this is a sentence, right? Now, it looks like this text has overflowed into cell C2, but in actuality, what's happened is B2 has basically said to C2, hey, are you using your space? And C2 says, no, I'm not using my space. You can overflow into it, okay? But watch, when I click on C2, there really is nothing in cell C2. It's just sort of everything's in B2, but it's overflowed into cell C2, okay? So if C2 needed to use its space, watch what happens now. I'm just going to type a bunch of X's here, okay? See how it then cuts the text off. But when I click in cell B2, I don't see all of the text I've typed. But if I look up in the formula bar, I see it's all still there, okay? And we'll learn later in this chapter about how we can make the column width bigger so we could actually see it, all of the text here in the overflowing cell. But for now, you just need to know that the formula bar will show you everything that's typed into the cell, and text will only go as far as it'll overflow if the cell next to it is blank, okay? The other thing I want to point out is if you type in text, you'll notice that text is automatically left aligned in a cell, and if you type in a number, it's right aligned in a cell, okay? Notice when I typed this number in 5,000.5, I did not type commas, I did not type dollar signs, I didn't even type the 0 after the 5. We'll learn that you basically don't need to. You just need to type the number in, and we're going to learn how to format it so that later on it has the comma for the thousand separator, it has the dollar sign, it has as many decimal places as you want, okay? So if you just need to type in, say, let's say it's 526, I don't know, 52,600. You can tell I'm making this up as I go here, right? 52,600. There's no cents, no dollar sign, no commas, so I just hit enter. Okay. If I had a number that was, say, 55 cents, I would need to type that in. So 670.55, right? So you just type the number in the way that it is. Okay. So just a quick review here. We have our quick access toolbar, title bar, ribbon, our go-to/name box, our formula bar is here. We have our broken out into columns and rows. The intersecting point between a column and a row is called a cell. And when I say cell, it's C-E-L-L, not S-E-L-L. Okay, cell. And then we learned about ranges, right? And a range is basically a group of continuous cells. In the next video, we're going to talk about different ways to highlight various ranges. And we learned that when we type text in a cell, it's by default left aligned and numbers are right aligned. We also talked about the fact that a file is a workbook and comprised of multiple worksheets. Okay, so hopefully you're slightly intrigued by Excel at this point and continue on to the next video.